Hey everyone, so until now we have discussed about variables, data types, operators and strings in our lectures. But we haven't discussed how to get input from the user. In any kind of programming, getting input from the user is a crucial part, right? So we know, let's say if we have a value, let's say a is equal to 100, we know how to print it out, how to get the output. So we'll just write print a and we'll be getting the output as 100, right? But what if I want to take input from the user? Let's say I want to get marks from a student. I want to ask the marks of a person from a student or from the user. How I can do that? So it's pretty simple. We first declare the variable which we want to take input as. So we'll write marks is equals to, instead of print, now we'll just say input, and inside the input we give a string which tells the user what we are asking for. This string basically tells the user what we are asking for. So we'll say enter your marks please, and if we run this thing, as you can see, our computer is asking for enter your marks please. So let's say if I write 100. Okay, so this marks variable now will be having the value of 100. How we can check? Print marks. As you can see, 100, right? Because the user gave input as the 100. I did not declare anywhere that marks is equals to 100, right? I just asked from the user, and the user can enter the value through the command line or this input box visible over here. Okay, so this is how we take inputs in Python. But there is one more fact about taking input in Python, which is if I check the type of a, if I check the type of a, sorry, a type of marks, not a, our input is marks, right? Our input is marks. If I check the type of marks, this is going to be a string. But why? We are getting a number 100. How it can be a string? The actual thing, this 100 is not this 100. Sorry, this is not stored as like this. It is being stored like this. This is being stored as a string. Instead of a number, this is being stored as a string in the marks. But why? Because it is the property of the input function. This is the property of the input function. And I will write it over here, make this thing as a rule that whenever, whenever we take input, the value must be included in a string. It will always be a string no matter what. Whenever you take an input, it will always be a string. So what is the other way around? How we can take integers as input, or say floats as input? So the simple thing is write integer in front of the input function and make sure you put your input function inside the bracket. So just write this thing integer and make sure the input statement is inside the bracket. So if you want to take input as an integer, just write this thing. And now if I give input as 100 and run type of marks, it changed to integer. We just did like int. If I want to take in float, I'll just write float and run 100. And if I print marks, as you can see, it will be converted to float. And here also it's converted to float. So I hope you guys are clear with this thing. How do we take inputs in Python? It's pretty easy, but you have to make sure that whenever you take basic input, it will be considered as a string. If you want to take input as an integer or a float, you have to specify the data type like this. Okay, so thank you everyone.